Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review, we are looking at the SH Figuarts Dragon Ball FighterZ Android 21, which is from the game Dragon Ball Fighter, not Fighter Z, just Fighters with a Z, because we're in 1999, and we're gonna add Z's to things for no apparent reason anymore without saying it like Dragon Ball Z, but it's got a Z for name recognition. It doesn't make any sense. And I don't know, are people still playing this game? I know Jump Force was a giant turd, but this game people seem to like for the most part, even though I got bored with it pretty quick. It had some really cool things, so I could see people being interested in buying a figure from that game. And this is a figure of a pink lady with a tube toppy type thing on with big boobs, and I'm sure a bunch of anime fans are into that sort of thing, so I can see the popularity. I personally thought the character was better before she turned into basically a female Majin Buu. Character design wise, but hey, that's just my 2 cents. You can let me know what you think in the comment section below. This figure is kind of good and kind of bad in a few different ways, so let's go ahead and talk about it. I think that's what we should do. That's what we're here for. So let's get it off the stand and take a closer look. This figure stands just about, including the hair, about 15.5 centimeters, which makes her roughly 6 inches to the top of the hair, so she's actually about 5.5 just to the top of her head. By the way, it's really hot in here because my air conditioner broke and my ruler is now flaccid. I wanted to make jokes about it, but I couldn't think of a way to incorporate it, so I figured I'd just show you. It's hot enough in my room that my ruler has gone limp. Okay, anyway, last time they released game-based figures, it made babies cry, and it was not a good situation, but this one is definitely better in some ways, and it was definitely better in all the ways. Compared to the other game-based figures, this one's better, for sure. But it does have its own share of problems, so we're going to talk about that. Aesthetically speaking, it does capture the likeness fairly well. Based on the early images, I was very concerned about the pants looking too segmented, and they do look very segmented. Once you pose her, it's not as noticeable, but it's still pretty noticeable. It's very noticeable. It's a thing. Got to point that out there. Also, the sculpt work on them, not strong. Like, there's no wrinkles, there's just cut lines in it. There's only wrinkles down here. Everything else is just straight kind of gouges in the plastic. Doesn't look great. Honestly, not a great sculpt. And if I'm being completely honest, this is gonna be one of those things I have to talk about where it's gonna make people uncomfortable probably. But if you look at her crotch, it's probably not the best way to sculpt that. I'll just leave it there. It is similar to how they sculpted on guys, and it shouldn't be there like that. I'm gonna leave it there. If you know what I'm talking about, then you understand what I'm talking about, and if you don't, well, you'll understand when you're older. And so that's about it, I guess, as far as aesthetics go. The paints are clean, relatively minimal. The gold is nicely done. And there's a little bit of black line work, but that's it. It's a deceptively basic figure. There's not a whole lot going on here. So, aesthetically speaking, I'll give it a 7. I don't like the pants. And that's it. I guess you could say 8, but 7. I'm going to go with 7. Oh, there's also zero shading in the hair. That bugged me a little bit too, because it's a lot of hair, a lot of separate pieces. And it doesn't look great without any shading. Okay, on to the accessories. We have 3 faces with red eyes. We have the one that comes on her where she's kind of smiling, one where she's looking off to the side, and then one where she's either laughing or yelling or biting something like that. And then we have one with blue eyes. As far as hands go, we just have a whole bunch of different style pose hands. Just a bunch. I don't feel like trying to come up with names and descriptions for each one, so you can see them right there. And then we have a donut. That's it. Not a ton of accessories. I mean, technically there's a large number, but they're not necessarily the most useful. I'll give it a 7. I'll give it a 7, that's okay. Like, she doesn't even have a hand for holding the donut in order to bite it. She only has a hand to, like, cup it, to palm it. It's just kind of lazy looking to me, lazy seeming. And then she doesn't have a stand at all. So this heavy ass tail and this heavy ass hair makes it almost impossible to pose her, unless you buy a secondary stand. Now, I don't normally mind not having stands included, but when a figure can't stand up, because it weighs 4 times as much off the back than it does down the center of gravity, which would be all the way back here now, that I think it should come with a stand. So I'm not pleased with the accessories on this figure. As far as articulation goes, the hair does have articulation. Let me just pop things off to show you what we have. I think we'll just leave it. Okay, so you get a ball hinge for the hair, which rotates this way, and hinges this way, and rotates this way. And that's fine. It technically covers all of the range, and the way they did it, it's not bad. It's not a huge deal, but when you lean it forward, if you go far enough, it will pop the head off. Luckily, they did leave some room, so you can lean it forward. It doesn't really go back at all. and then you can lean side to side and rotate it. So that's pretty good. Then you already saw a little ball hinge in the hair, which is just solid PVC right here. This is heavy. It's really heavy. And yeah, you can fold it back like that, but that's gonna even screw up your gravity even more. So that's a thing. For the shoulders, we have a ball hinge, which has a little ball peg, so there's like a tiny bit of play in the shoulder itself, but then the rest is just the hinge. And that's a good way to do it. I don't mind that. I think that's pretty good. I like it. Full range, full rotation, no issues. Single jointed elbow, which is gross looking. I don't know what they were thinking right there, but that's worse than a Figma. Like, they literally cut flats out of the bicep and the forearm so that you could do this. Well, that's fine, but it's ugly as hell, so that kind of defeats the purpose a lot. How about some middle ground where you don't just shave giant chunks out of the plastic? That is terrible. So now the only way to make it look decent is to fold the arms completely. Dumb. Ball hinges for the wrist, which give you plenty of range. They're quite large. They're wrist sized, which is a good thing most of the time, and that's pretty good. Diaphragm joint, I think it's just a single ball peg. It gives you a ton of range. Let me zoom out so you can actually see. Yeah, you get a ton of range out of that, so no problems there. Feels like a single, but she's very floppy, so it's kind of hard to say. But I believe it's just another single down here with a floating piece. And this lower part just likes to flop because she's so damn heavy with her hair. But you do get decent range, so that's a good thing. This is floaty. Hips go all the way out to the side, full on splits, but then she has these dangly bits that are unappealing. That's probably something we shouldn't have there. I don't like that. Bringing the legs forward, you can go all the way, and going back all the way. Really good range for the hips. No problems at all with the hips other than that weird dangly bit. You do get a thigh swivel. It is very low. That helps create that segmented look, and that's a bummer. Double jointed knees are better than they could have been, but still pretty bad because you still have these giant gaps, and you don't need those gaps. I don't know why they just put more plastic in there and it'll work better. These giant gaps kind of negate the fact that you gave us a kneecap. It's still goofy looking. Anyway, for the ankle we have a ball hinge, straight up ball hinge, full range, no issues. It doesn't go forward that far, I guess, because of the gold part. But otherwise, you get full range. So that's really good. Really good ankle rocker. Toe hinge is okay. It's not tight enough to be useful, though. So articulation on this figure is only going to be a 7 out of 10. Oh, I thought that pulled out, but then I couldn't get it to pull out before. So yeah, you get this slip joint in here, which is, I guess, for helping her to bring her arms across her chest because she's got giant chesticles. But it's really gross looking. It's even keyed. So this figure is like halfway good and then halfway just lazy, poor implementation of things, which I guess is a good thing because anybody who's not into buying the video game based figures, you don't have to worry about it. So I guess that's all right. But yeah, it's just it's so average, and I feel like people are giving it way more credit than it deserves just because she has giant boobages. And that's fine if that's what you're into, but it's just a little plastic toy, so that really shouldn't make up for much. If it's not that good of a toy, having boobs shouldn't convince you to buy it. If you want to buy toys with boobs, there's other ones out there that are better. So I would maybe look into those if I was you, and maybe see a therapist. So final verdict on this figure is a 7. It's just completely mediocre all the way around, and if you're not a sucker for pink ladies with tails and boobs, then you're not probably going to be all that into it. I guess, probably. That's my guess. I said guess twice to reiterate my point. And there it is. Thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed this video, please do subscribe. I have thousands of videos already on the channel and new ones coming out just about daily, so make sure you come back for all of that. And in the meantime, keep collecting.